So today's topic is pensions, and I want to talk about the power that pensions can give us in later life and the freedom that we can get from it. This is a really important topic for everyone really, but especially working people that are on lower incomes, because we know that it's hard to get savings anyway, but for later life, if you can start a pension early, you'll be a lot better off, and you may not have to work when you're meant to be retired. So I want to say that I am in two pension schemes. I've got my work-based pension, which I was auto-enrolled in, so I only pay the minimum amount into that, so that's 8% including the contribution from my employer. I should up that, but I don't get a lot of money, so at the moment I'm keeping it at that. But I do want to say, even if you are on not a lot of money, being part of a pension scheme is still very useful. Yes, you might feel like you need the money now, but if you can put the minimum amount in and still be okay, then it's definitely worth it. If you can't, if you need every penny that you've got, obviously do what you want. It's not financial advice. I'm not telling you what to do. You put your money at your own risk, but I'm just saying that pensions are really, really important. So on my workplace pension, I am with Nest. So with Nest, you have the option of a few funds that you can put in, and a lot of the time people get put into these workplace pensions and then they don't look at them. They don't see how much money they've got in for a long time, and they don't bother to change the fund depending on their preference. So on Nest, I have gone for the high risk fund. I've got a lot of time before I'm going to have enough money to retire anyway, and for a lot of the companies that you put your pension with, they have a limit before you can take those contributions out. So I think with Nest it's like 55. I can't remember, but again, this isn't about the nitty-gritty of it, it's just about how important pensions are. Yeah, so with that amount of time left, I should be okay, and I should kind of weather the risk and just make sure that I've had gains. Obviously there's no guarantee. When you are investing into a pension, you are investing, and there is a chance that you could lose it all. But generally, I think it's pretty safe to say that you won't lose it all. But again, even if you just keep what you put in there, it's a guaranteed amount of money that you are putting aside. But generally, you're looking at a certain percentage higher than inflation. It's only going to be a bit for a lot of the funds, but that's why you should look into them. You can look at what they've done previously. That doesn't give an indication of future returns, but if you're starting out, it's a good way to just kind of get to grips with how these work, get a compound interest calculator and be like, well, that earned 7% for the last 10 years. If it keeps doing that and I put in X amount a month, I can end up with this by the age you want to retire. That's what I do. Again, it's not going to be 100% accurate, but at least it starts you thinking about the money. Now, with my second pension, makes it sound like I've got a lot of money to put into them. I don't. It's a SIPP. So I started this when I was about 22 years old. My mum used to work in a bank. Nothing fancy, but she got a good understanding of how money works, and she was coming up to the age of retirement, so she was like, you should really start investing your money into a SIPP, because at the time I was looking into some self-employed ventures, let's say, and this was a way for me to put my money away, because there wasn't going to be any workplace pensions involved with the jobs that I wanted. So I chose to put in £100 a month, and I wasn't earning a lot of money when I started my self-employed personal pension. I really wasn't. And moving on a few years, I earned less than I was earning when I first started. But it was a guaranteed, I was putting it away, And also with that, you get 25% tax relief from the government. So I was putting £100 away, and they'd give me £25 on top of that in tax relief to contribute towards my pension. And then moving forward, I was thinking about which fund I wanted to invest my pension in. At the time, I made a really smart choice. So I chose US equities. And if anyone likes, I can give them the fund. It won't contribute to me or in any way, so yeah. But I can tell you what I invest in for that. And at the time, like I say, it was a really good investment. For the next 6 years, it was a fantastic investment, in my opinion. I was earning an average of about 10%. So up until recently, the money that I made back, which again, I didn't invest a lot in there, but the money that I made back was about 54% of what I'd put in. And I'd been doing it for over a few years, so you can try and figure out the math yourself. I'm not going to give you any exact figures, that's down to me. But with recent events in America, let's say, with the tariffs and the uncertainty around policy, my investments have tanked a little bit, just to say the least. I've still, at the moment, made a bit of money, but it is almost halved the amount of money that I've made, which is a real shame. So no matter what you think about Donald Trump and his tariffs and all that kind of stuff, a lot of people will have money invested in things like the S&P 500 and other large US stocks and large US funds, and it's done real damage. There is no denying that, and people can say, well, it might bounce back. It might. And there's always going to be crashes along the line, there's always going to be difficulty, yeah. But I think that this one could have been avoided. Little corrections were definitely needed for the price of certain stocks. Tesla's had a massive correction. That one was, I can't remember the exact figure, but it was over $400 just a couple of months ago, and the other day I looked and it was about $230, so a massive correction. And again, I'm not going to comment on why. I used to have some money in Tesla, a small amount. I got some free stocks from when my friend joined my investing app, and it went up a little bit and I sold it. And then just around the time that I sold it, there was a lot more controversy with, you know who. So yeah, he shouldn't be involved in politics, in my opinion. And now that he is, his stocks are tanking. So definitely, if you are really wanting freedom when you retire, or you want to retire early, start thinking about your pension, and if you can afford it, why not consider a SIPP as well. There are other ways that you can save for retirement, like stocks and shares ISA, cash ISA, which is more reliable returns but a lot lower percentage, and then there are high yield savings accounts, stuff like that. But definitely consider a SIPP or putting more money into your workplace pension. A lot of experts say that we are, as a society, not putting in enough, and a lot of us take for granted that we will get the state pension at the age of retirement, but we don't know whether that will still be a thing. A lot of changes will happen between now and the time that I retire. A lot of governments will come in, and a lot of governments will go. So I can't guarantee that I'll get that. So I want to make sure that for myself, potentially my future family, whatever might happen, I want to make sure that we have financial freedom at the time when I want to stop working. Like I said, with the employer pension and the SIP, there are dates that you have to follow. So you can't take it out, say if I wanted to take it out in a year from now, I can't. I need to take it out at a certain age, but at least it's given me a bit more flexibility, so I could take it out a bit before I get the state pension. Just something I'm going to recommend from a housekeeping perspective. Consider your options for the investment funds for any kind of pension that you've got. Look at them. You can change them when you want. It depends on your provider. You should be able to do it online if you're with your workplace pension. If you've got your self-invested pension, it might be on an app or again online. There are ways to change them, but definitely keep up to date. Every so often have a look at the funds, see how they're doing. And I'm not saying switch all the time because that won't be useful, but have a big think before you leave it for a while, because you want to know that you're happy with the amount of risk that is involved. If you're getting closer to retirement, you might want less risk because you just want it to be a sure thing. But when you're younger, like for example myself, I want to take a bit more risk. I want to try and maximize the gains, and I'm comfortable with the fact that I could lose a bit of money. It doesn't feel good, especially like I said with the US fund that I'm invested in. That doesn't feel good at all. Knowing that I had about 54% return was lovely, and now that it's dropped by quite a significant amount, that feels terrible, but I still have many years left to put money in, and I might change my fund. I think it's a bit too early to change it now, and I'm holding off for a little bit. I want the US to do well. I want the US to be a country that people like. I used to think it was a magical place when I was a kid. That's definitely because of Disneyland, definitely. But I want that ideal world that I used to believe in. I used to want to move to America. I used to think, oh, well, everything's bigger and better over there. They are like the leaders of the free world and all this kind of stuff. And as I've grown up, I've realised that it's not as magical and it's not as fun. But I would like that country to succeed, and if they did, my stocks would go up. It'd be a benefit to me. But again, if they don't, I might consider switching to a all-world fund. It's definitely going to be something that I do at some point, but I'm just not sure when. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. This is just important information that working people especially need to take notice of. We need to make sure that we have money in the bank. We need to make sure that we are set. Try and put that money away, and the benefit of a pension is you can't take it out until you are a certain age. We don't know what's going to happen in our lives, so you might think, oh well, I might need that money one day. But if you make it to retirement age, which I hope you all do, that money could be your lifeline. Okay? I know young people don't want to consider it. Young people don't want to think about this. They want to have a good time and use their money that they've earned. But I promise you, if you start thinking about investing, or you start thinking about a pension, which I'd probably do before investing, then you will have a more secure future, and so will your family. Okay? Thank you for tuning into Why You Should Care, and focus on your pension.